Hi, I'm Dan. This is Jaden. We're here with Fanatik Bike today, testing out two of Evil's hottest new trail bikes. I'm here on the all-new long travel 29er, the Wreckoning.
And I'm here on the Insurgent, the 150mm travel 27.5 bike. Today we're going to ride these two bikes and try and draw some comparisons. They seem like somewhat similar bikes, different wheel size, so we really want to give them a thorough testing. We know a lot of you out there are probably going to be curious what some differences are, so you'll probably be interested in what we have to say. But for now, we're going to get some trail time, and we'll chat some more later.
Sounds good.
So both Dan and I have been riding Evil bikes for a while. I've owned a following, and I currently own this Insurgent. Dan also owns an Insurgent, and he's been lucky enough to test out this new Wreckoning. So Dan, you've had ride time on both the Insurgent and the Wreckoning now. Were you able to draw any conclusions or comparisons between the two bikes?
Yeah, so right off the bat, I noticed the much larger size of the bike. The bike is noticeably larger than the Insurgent that I had been on. My concern there was that the center of gravity would be too high and it would just be an awkward feeling bike. But I think they've really dialed that in with this bike. The delta linkage that this uses, the suspension design, drops all the weight really low in the frame. From the shock to the pivots, and all this hardware is really low in the frame. So this bike really maintains the straight line speed that 29ers are known for, to be able to hold that speed over chunky, rocky, rooty stuff, but it also corners extremely well, is something I've noticed from it. One thing I've noticed on other 29ers that I've ridden is that with these larger wheels, you get a weaker wheel. Just more spoke, bigger rim leads to a weaker wheel, which I was a little concerned about, stiffness particularly. But this frame uses the new Boost 148 standard, which I know there's a lot of trepidation out there about that. But I think in this context, on longer travel, burlier trail bikes that are designed to ride gnarlier terrain, it's a great thing. I think I haven't noticed any lack of stability or stiffness in these wheels at all. I think I'd like to let Jaden talk about some of the differences in geometry numbers between these bikes.
Sure. Geometry is fairly similar between the Insurgent and the Wreckoning. Well, the Wreckoning has about a 65.5 degree head tube angle in the extra low setting, which is what Dan's riding it in. And the Insurgent is just under 65 degrees in the same setting. So pretty similar on the head angle, and the rest of the measurements are going to be fairly similar. There is one big difference between these bikes, though. The Wreckoning is only available in medium, large, and extra large. They opted out of the small. Evil's reasoning behind that is they feel like that's a little bit too much bike to try and cram into a small package, and smaller riders like myself are probably better off on an Insurgent.
As a smaller rider, how did you feel about your time spent on the following?
I owned a small following as well. That bike is kind of a different, in a different ball court. It's a small frame, it's a 29er, but with the reduced travel, they're really able to pack everything into the small frame and make it a positive experience for smaller riders like myself again. So back to the Wreckoning here. 161 millimeters of rear travel, 160 millimeters up front, 29-inch wheels, and super slack geometry. It's definitely pushing the boundaries of what we've seen in a 29er. To me, it basically spells an absolute monster truck on the trail. Dan, for those who are still considering which of these bikes they might want to go with, what kind of advice can you give those people?
Yeah, I think Jaden's absolutely right. Monster truck defines this bike perfectly. So I have been riding the Insurgent every day for the past 5 months as my daily driver, and I've grown to love it in that time. If you're the type of rider that likes to pop off every little bump in the trail and you're dodging back and forth, jumping off everything, I think that bike holds true to what we've known smaller wheel sizes to be, which is a more playful bike. This bike definitely holds its speed in a straight line. It keeps that momentum going. You're just mobbing over bumps and rocks. But when it comes to hitting that turn, hitting that berm, and laying it down, it definitely requires a little bit more body English to get it going. It has more travel than that bike, so in all regards, it is a big bike. That being said, it doesn't seem like overkill, particularly when you're taking it out and riding really gnarly stuff. Why might you choose one versus the other? I think it really boils down to what sort of rider you fancy yourself. If you're looking for something that you can have a little more fun on the trail from a sort of jumping standpoint and getting loose in the corners, I think that Insurgent might be the bike for you. But if you're looking for a bike that can just mob over everything, you might consider the Wreckoning.
Yeah, I think that's a fair comparison. So with that, we will let you get in touch with us if you have any more questions. We're going to keep riding these bikes and getting more kind of real-world experience on them. So you're welcome to get in touch with us anytime, and we'll be happy to chat.